sound, and I'm going to turn the camera on in just one sec.
Yes. I've been waiting for one of these for a while, Mike. Thanks for coming through with it.
Absolutely. Glad we could make it happen.
Last one was way too long ago.
Yeah, totally agree. And they're always so fun too.
For sure. I was telling everyone what's pretty awesome is, like, I think almost everyone that's just joined, we've worked with in one way, shape, or form, through open, interpreter and accessibility grants in one way, shape, or form. So that's pretty damn exciting.
Yeah, it is.
Like versus the last time we had a roundtable, and now, like, there's actually been actions taken. So it's pretty exciting.
Yeah, there's been some really incredible work that I've got the chance to see too, from what James and Abe and I guess Emil too, you've been in that, that I think we might get to see today. Is that?
Yep, we got some real exciting progress to show today.
Nice.
Abe just blew my mind today.
And we're looking for.
We've even got some more stuff. Some more stuff that we've got since then.
Yeah.
But yeah.
Oh my god!
Really a cool demo.
Hey,
assuming it works.
Opportunity to ask. Does anybody mind if this is recorded?
Oh, yikes! I'm putting it there too.
No.
Go for it.
Go for it. Yeah.
Sweet. Sounds good to me.
James, I was telling Abe today when he sent me a little sneak peek. I'm like, he underestimates his stubbornness and abilities to work on crazy stuff. Like yesterday, I was like, it's not possible. This morning I'm like,
I keep saying he's like Scotty on the old Star Trek. Every morning we have the same conversation. I'm like, wouldn't it be cool if we did this? He's like, oh, well, we can't do that because it's really difficult and it's going to take a long time. And then, like, right before lunch, he's like, come check this out.
Those are my favorite.
And it works.
Okay, well, let me kick us off by just talking for a second too. I mean, the fact that we have all been working together has been something to be celebrated tremendously out of this. I kind of feel like as the open source artificial intelligence community, and especially as the computer control community, we have a really weird opportunity and a special opportunity to make computers more accessible than they ever have been before. A lot of the time we have talked, like a lot of people at Open Interpreter, about computers as the bicycle of the mind. That idea that, I don't know if anybody ever saw that thing of people actually trying to see if the energy of like somebody running versus a condor versus other animals, how much energy they expend versus how far they go, how efficient they are. And somebody had the foresight to test that with a person riding a bicycle. And even though on the natural thing of people running, humans were like way nothing at all, and then the condor was the top, a person on a bicycle blew the condor out of the water. We are tool builders, and we fashion tools that amplify our inherent abilities to magnificent magnitudes. And not everybody can ride a bike. So there is this incredible bicycle of the mind that has been invented in the last few decades, the computer. It's just about required now to navigate modern society. You pretty much can't get anything done, any government assistance or anything without knowing how to use a computer. And before, there was no way other than adding a different button to try to make computers more accessible. But now we have language models, and you can have now accessibility on the cognitive layer. And this has never been attempted before, and I really feel like we're at the front of it. With seeing a little bit of what James and Abe has been working on, and also too, I'm going to get to show you something too that Kai here, who is a intern, has been working on. There is an opportunity with language models to make computers easier to use than ever before. Do we want to start with your guys' demo? Would you be ready to go? So we also too, like Kai has been working super hard since the 01 rewrites to try to get a version that runs on an Android phone. And I think we're going to try to show you what that kind of work in progress looks like. But I know you guys have something that's running on Windows.
Yep,
And
it
Raspberry Pi.
runs it's platform agnostic right now. It runs on Raspbian, Ubuntu, Windows, probably Mac OS. So I can't say I've tried it. Yeah, I can go ahead and share that. Now,
Hey, we have to
we
give them
had
a
some
taste of
pretty
their own
impressive
medicine.
stuff from earlier, but
以为成功之后就能抚平伤痕，欲望变卖这。
okay.
I'm just gonna preface this real quick, Abe. Just so you know, like the goal here, the intent of this, and we're actively looking for. We're to the point now where we're happy to share this and actively looking for people to test and give us feedback. So what we're working on is basically it's a desktop application, but
Here,
it's
I'll
small enough to where we're going to run on about anything with a
yeah.
focus on obviously the whole open interpreter premise of controlling a computer. But what we're doing that's a little bit different here is we're adding customizable knowledge bases. So what we're looking for is people who have accessibility needs to use this, and we will sit down one-on-one with you, walk you through how the knowledge base building and stuff works, so you can, like, with us, design the accessibility tool. So we can specialize this for like, you know, like I've got a friend with like Parkinson's and they have a hard time typing, and you know, like we can specialize it as a like a transcription agent, a personal assistant, things like that. So if you're interested after you see this, DM me and I'll
Yeah.
leave it to Abe.
So
And it's fully open source and will always be 100% like free.
Yeah.
Like just there's no commercial, like especially for the accessibility. This is not this particular branch. There is a commercial branch of the business, but this software we're showing you now is 100% like non-commercial, and feel free to do with it what you like.
all right. So first big preface, this is a live demo. Live demos are notoriously the place where everything goes wrong and breaks. So I hope to show you guys something cool here. We've had it doing some cool stuff 10 minutes ago, but for warning, it might flop. All right, so disclaimer out of the way. Here we have our window. And yeah, so let's go ahead. We've got the input box here. It's got two modes, text mode and voice mode. I'll be using text mode right now because Discord interferes with the input device grabbing, but you can go ahead and turn on voice mode here and then trigger it with assistant. And like I said, Discord likes to break input device grabbing, but the voice mode works, and I can show some pre-recorded footage of that working. But I'll be sticking with text mode. So let's just go ahead and say hi. And it will take its time to initialize, but hopefully I've not broken. There we go. Okay. So we can see, hello, how can I assist you today? Let me know what you'd like to do next. So I'll be demoing these two knowledge bases here that I've made, computer interaction and web interaction. The goal of these two knowledge bases is, like we said, just to be a helpful desktop assistant. These sort of make up for a lack of computer APIs. So this will let you connect to your Google account and check your Google Calendar, your Gmail inbox, send emails, make new Drive files, make new Google Docs, all that kind of stuff with the Google Suite, and use keyboard on your computer. Let's go ahead and see if we can demo it. Real quick before that, just a walkthrough of the functions here. Am I able to make the text bigger? Not without closing and reopening it. Yeah, so I'll make sure to narrate what it says. Sorry about that, Ben, but I would have to go restart the whole program right now.
Okay, for the visually impaired, we got to make it zoomable. Let's make a note of that, right?
Yeah. And
Accessibility,
okay, so
baby.
these knowledge bases, the function of a knowledge base is a folder. You can add any sort of text document, PDF, docs folder, HTML, whatever sort of text-based file you want to that, as well as URLs for web pages, and it will process that into chunks. It will vectorize it, and it will store that in a knowledge base, as we're calling it, that the interpreter, open interpreter, will rag over to provide context. We also have in our settings here environment variables that I've added here. These are ways to securely add credentials for your interpreter to use. So these are things like API keys or the Google platform credentials. And the way we do this is we set an environment variable and then give the name of the environment variable to the interpreter so it can call them without actually knowing them. We've given it instructions not to print the output and not to overwrite it. So you can give it sensitive information. It's written to the environment variable, and then it can use it by referencing the environment variable, but not actually exposing your passwords or API keys. So now let's actually get started.
It
Let's tell
can
it
be
to-
jailbroken. It's security for the honest at the moment.
Yeah. Don't use this on any important stuff right now. It can still brick your computer, but I think anyone here should be, ready for that if you
Quick
use
question on
Open
this
Interpreter's
one.
OS. Oh yeah?
Yeah, it's with so yeah, security for the honest, but I'm assuming there wouldn't be a way to obscure that from like an API request. Like, could it obviously, maybe if there's someone on my computer, I might be worried about that. But what I would be interested in is if there would be a way to not be providing sensitive information on my PC to an external API that I'm calling, you know what I mean?
When you say sensitive information, do you mean like the API key? Because in that case, no. I think you pretty much have to.
Well, yeah, not that API key, but yeah, I guess maybe any so I guess unless I am okay, well, accepting the API key that is required for the API that I'm calling, will it generally be like if I reference an environment variable, will that be sent to the API that I'm calling if it's like part of the prompt? Does that make sense? Not sure.
Okay, I see the question. So the answer is no, if I understand you. This works through Open Interpreter's Python interpreter. So all these APIs are interacted with via running either Java or Python code, and that Java or Python code references the environment variable. So the code itself does not contain the environment variable, if that's what you're asking. Or it does not contain the value of the sensitive information. It just references the environment variable.
Okay, cool.
So onto a quick demo here. Let's go ahead and ask it using the Google Calendar API, what events do I have coming up? All right, so since you can't read it right now, it's streaming its process. It's telling us it's querying the computer interaction and the web interaction knowledge base. It's accessing my Google credentials, running Python code. And let's see what it comes up with. Okay, so here's something you'll find happens quite a lot right now that we're working on. Sometimes it tries to use the computer API, which doesn't work. So when that happens, we just have to specify use the Google Calendar API. Like I said, live demos is where everything chooses to break.
This is where the knowledge bases come in. You run into an issue like this, and you can save, a snippet of information to the knowledge base. So when it runs into the same situation again, it remembers what it did last time and does it properly this time. And that's really kind of been the game changer with like we're getting obviously not 100% functionality. We're getting way better functionality than all the other stuff we've looked at out there. Like we're getting fairly
Oh
consistent.
boy.
And of course,
Lead
it's all-
with yeah,
I can
like we
vouch for
said, it
this.
always breaks when people are watching. You have access to the threads path in the and bars.
I can vouch that this was done in less than 24 hours. So,
Yeah, it hopefully we can get it on the right path here. If not, I'll just have to resort to showing
We'll
you
get
guys
the
the
reset
demo
chat.
we recorded this morning. Hopefully that's not necessary, but
So what is in the
well,
like right now, there's kind of the web interaction and then computer interaction. What's the kind of stuff that's in there? So it's like telling it how to across different apps they work, or how to browse the web, or what's in those?
So right now in web interaction, we have scraped the entire Google Google Suite API. We have some Python guides on web scraping, stuff like that. The computer interaction is guides on how to simulate key presses, stuff like check the operating system, press the hotkey for that operating system, search an app name and hit enter to open an app, use tab to switch between input fields. So, okay, embarrassingly, I'm going to have to resort to our pre-recorded demo here. This was working 20 minutes ago, and then I went and tinkered with it before the call, and so I've gone and broken something. But
It's always better to tinker in demos.
Yeah, we were like, okay, we got to stop tinkering now. We got to stop tinkering now. We didn't stop.
So
tinkering.
here's
the UI keeps getting better, like hour by hour.
Yeah. Here's a version from earlier where it is successfully. Let's see here. Okay, it's successfully. You have upcoming payment for your PlayStation Plus subscription. Credit karma emails. Something about my credit card, shopping deals.
Yeah, that's just
you can see the
inbox
videos from
summary.
earlier today. Yeah, and then we have it sending emails. What I unfortunately wish we could show is that about 20 minutes ago we had it check a calendar, get events from a calendar, get notes from a conversation, put it in a Google Doc, and then share that Google Doc with somebody. I'll go ahead and try one last desperate attempt to get it to do that. Using the Google Calendar API, get retrieve upcoming events. Fingers crossed. Now I know how they felt at that Google Gemini demo.
Yeah. Yeah, except we've done this on the cheap. We've got an excuse.
Okay, it's not working. So I guess in one last attempt, let's go ahead and restart our program here and see if we can kick it into working.
Broke something in the last 40 minutes.
Yeah, that's very likely.
Is that a tkinter interface, or is it?
Yeah, right now this is custom tkinter. We're going to be rewriting this to use HTML and CSS using the Electron framework. But for now, I've been breaking everything so quickly that I'm just using the built-in Python tkinter because it's easier.
Really good. I'm so like, I don't know. I'm used to.
Well, you want to know
but-
who wrote this UI? Open Interpreter did. I gave it our brand guidelines and told it to apply these brand guidelines to here to make a ChatGPT-esque interface. And then I just did a bit of tweaking and got it to do that itself.
I think
All
Anton,
right, so I guess I can show you guys how this process works now. So you add environment variables here, you name them.
This will all get repackaged for the non-technical.
Yeah, and then you can go ahead.
Right now, we're showing it to the people who understand when things break, but we got to get past that.
Yeah.
I've get pulled and updated Abe's repo at least 20 times in the past 48 hours. So
yeah,
broke my OS 4 times.
We break fast here. All right.
We
Let's go
break
ahead and
fast
see if
and
it can
move
do better the
things.
second time.
Fast, feel cheap.
Use the Google Calendar API to check my events. All right.
Come on. OpenPy.
The first prompt always takes a little longer because everything's initializing. After that, it picks
Yeah.
up speed.
So OpenPy is the name of this project. Is that
Temporarily,
Oh,
Working title.
it's
Because
the
it started
working
out running
title.
on a Raspberry Pi.
Yeah, and then we kind of expanded to 2 projects, like the desktop app and the Pi app.
yeah.
Ah, okay, it's on the right path this time.
Ooh.
And see, afterwards, we can tell it to summarize this and save this
Yeah.
procedure to the knowledge base.
Wow.
And then it's got an example and how it was solved, like in the knowledge base. And we've discovered that using that as RAG rather than like calling a function or something just allows it to be more flexible and adapt to different, like to use these examples in similar situations a lot better than a lot of the other approaches we've seen in the community.
Yeah, skills should be like tutorials. That's how we were in the same in the O1. It's like it's more like it should write a little tutorial about it.
Yeah, exactly.
Read it and then just flexibly like react to it. It's really smart.
Ah, okay. So it's popped up on my second monitor, but here it's brought up a Google OAuth 2.0 page to where I can now authenticate it to use my account. It's working, guys. We did it. Second time's the charm. So I'm going to go ahead and give it permission. And there we go. Look at that. It's found an upcoming flight and some upcoming birthdays here. So let's go ahead and say, awesome. Now, can you save that list to a new Google Docs and
Anybody who
open it?
The Google API knows how insanely complicated this is to handle under the hood. Like I can't do this looking at the docs.
Yeah, the Google API is one of the least comprehensible to human APIs.
We figure if we can get Google to do it, we can get anybody else's
And
API to
I
work.
don't know if anyone here has had to use the Google Cloud Console website, but for one of the biggest providers out there, it's infuriating that it takes 30 seconds for anything to load. Like unchecking a checkbox takes 30 seconds for it to load. All cloud consoles do suck, but Google should at least be the best. It's Google. Select all, so it's asking for access again.
At least they have decent
And here we
documentation.
go. Here's
Unlike Azure.
the new Google Doc with the upcoming calendar events.
Wow.
No, I have my own AI. I don't need Gemini.
Now email it to me, Abe.
Now, okay, send that in an email to an email address that I will put in off screen so James doesn't get spammed. Although I guess you guys will see it when I put it back on.
I don't care.
Okay. Again,
don't care. I'll put
security
myself out
for the
there for
honest
the sake of
guys.
progress.
Don't go spamming anyone's email addresses here.
Whoever edits this can pixelate it and post.
So, although I'm doing this with text here, the idea for accessibility, because that's the roundtable we're in, is that this would be able to be done with voice. And once you've authenticated it for a certain service, you don't need to re-authenticate it for that service. Those authentications are stored in your token.pickle file. So this means once you've got it set up, a person who isn't able to use a keyboard should theoretically be able to check calendar events, send emails, write in Google Docs, use stuff like that, all without hands. Okay, and here it's trying to use computer.mail.send, so I'll have to yell at it and tell it to use the right API here. But it should get it done. I'm glad I got something to show you guys. So while this is thinking, I want to extend questions to the audience. Anyone here who has, like, who knows about accessibility, who cares about accessibility, which I'm guessing is most of you since you're here, what features do you guys like struggle with the most, or do you think are the most important to be able to do voice only? Go ahead and authenticate it. And what stuff would you like to see us working on for this to support?
Ohana.
All right, so supposedly it sent an email. So James, if you want to check your email and confirm to the crowd if it worked.
Which email did you send it to? Business or personal?
42.
Okay.
Knowledge base at using cursor? Yeah, that would be very cool. That one might be tricky because that would have to be like
there it is.
It worked? All right.
Nice.
That would have to be using the like keyboard and stuff on your computer. Which it can do. All right. We're getting into the risky side of this. Let's try open WhatsApp. So we were working with this yesterday with like Interpreter's OS mode using the mouse and keyboard, and we had very mixed success. I got it a couple of times to do it well, but then I didn't save that into a knowledge base, and so I didn't get it to repeat it. So
it worked with me. It worked.
Figure this out.
The WhatsApp thing worked with me on your demo.
So yeah, what it's done here is it's tried to open up the Windows button, but it's pressed the wrong key, and so instead it's just sent it into the chat. So now we're gonna watch as it breaks everything. And it keeps sending it into the chat. Okay.
For potentially a voice-only mode, I feel like it would be advisable because, so like right here, we can watch what it's doing and sort of like, you know, push it in the right direction and fix all the weird.
Oh, and now it's sending it to Discord.
Yeah,
dude,
exactly.
Something kind of cool you guys could do is if you guys Mike set up something with the Obsidian where you could save these types of things to Obsidian. He made it super easy. All you have to do is save a markdown file into a directory, and it could save all of its findings into one really easy to use, easy to read location. I don't know if you want to talk about that at all, Mike, but I just thought that was so cool that you could save like complicated LLM outputs just into a human readable markdown file.
Really quick, what were you saying about a voice only mode? Whoever was saying that.
RE voice only. So my thought being, what you would probably, or how I might approach that is, so the big thing with voice is you're going to have way less opportunity to give the user feedback about what the model is doing. Like you can't just have it like narrating everything all the time. So my thought being that you could build a library of skills in this knowledge base sort of mechanic that you have, like, and have a list of them that do work if you follow them exactly. And you can build that on your computer when you have access. You can do context management, all that stuff, and then you save it to the mobile version. And so like when I'm walking away, I have like a tinier one that's like not quite as effective. It can only do stuff it's already done before. And then the on device one is where I can start building that sort of external kind of subsystem.
That's a good idea. One thing that we do have though to sort of put into that for the voice mode, it doesn't narrate its process. So what we've done is for any of you who have used Open Interpreter in Python code, you call it with the .chat method. And if you have stream set to true, it streams the code as it's running it, and it streams the process in chunks as it's returning. It returns a generator that you can then cycle through. But then if you do it with stream is false, it just returns the final response to you. It returns the final LMC message and just the response content. So in voice mode, what we've done is it shows you the streaming content, but it only narrates the final response. So you can still see the process.
That's the only stuff that gets spoken aloud.
So let's see if I can get voice mode to work really quick. Assistant.
Yeah, it's probably going to break. Discord hates.
Hi, how are you? All right, so here we can see using it hands-free in voice mode. This is using Whisper, by the way, for transcription and TTS1 for text-to-speech.
Did anybody see the new Whisper file?
How can I help you today?
No, I have not.
What would you like to do next?
But
the
I'll
llama
definitely
file
have to check it out.
Yeah.
We've
It's
checked it
llama
out.
file, but it's for Whisper.
Insane.
Super stoked.
So let's try here really quick. Assistant. Summarize my Gmail inbox using the Google Gmail API.
Nice. Oh, good. What model is this too? This is so fast.
This is 4.0. Right now we've got support for 4.0, Azure, and Anthropic within the UI, but you need an OpenAI key to use RAG. Yeah, summary for the person who just joined. Basically what we're showing off here is a desktop app we've been working on that uses Open Interpreter along with some extra souped up settings and knowledge bases that give it access to context that you can add to the knowledge bases, train it to do certain things. And we're demoing sort of an accessibility assistant that's going to help you use the Google Suite, kind of mimicking the computer API, but in the Google Suite instead of on Mac. All right, so let's see what I've got. I've got a message from TD Bank, from Redfire Farm, from LinkedIn, from Uber Eats, more from LinkedIn, 100 unread messages. That's my personal email for you. Please check mic channels. Echoing? Yeah, okay, I'm gonna turn off voice mode. So, is that better? Less echoing?
It was good for me before.
Maybe?
Yeah,
okay.
Yeah, it was fine here.
So,
and I can hear you
hear
in the
echoes?
next room.
Okay, I don't know. That might be something to do with trying to grab multiple input, or maybe that's just on you. Anyway, here we can see it did get my results here, which is pretty exciting. Let's try something a little more difficult before I hand off the floor to somebody else. Say, assistant, I'm trying to plan a date in Rome. Can you find some good restaurants and send me the Google Maps for them in my browser?
Nice.
All right, so here we go. Dynamic link not found. Great. Okay. Let's try that again. Assistant.
I have opened the Google Maps links for some highly rated restaurants in Rome.
Assistant.
Here are the restaurants I found.
Open those in Google Maps. Those links didn't work.
And you can interrupt it.
Yes, you can interrupt it now, which is big.
Huge.
Although I can't really take credit for that one. That's just kind of OpenAI being amazing. All right, so here we go. It's found us some restaurants.
Wow.
Let's see if
Google Maps links for the following restaurants in Rome in your browser. 1, La Pergola. 2, Roscioli.
Very
3,
cool.
Osteria Fernanda. 4,
What is that Google API that it's using? So this is like
Felicia
Is it
Testaccio.
just using?
Now see the Google Maps pages for these restaurants.
So this isn't actually using. This is using your own computer API, but it's just with some extra system instructions on handling Google Maps and planning. So now let's say assistant. Those look great. Can you plan a route for me in Rome, making me hit a couple tourist spots and then finishing off at dinner at a restaurant? So planning routes is another thing it can do with Google Maps. It can plan multiple stops and time everything. I'll show after this. It can also give you download the menus from the restaurants. It can find their phone numbers. All right, so here's the route it's made for us.
I've created a Google Maps route for you that includes the following stops. One,
Is that with query parameters in the URL? Is that how it's doing, or what? This is amazing.
Yes. Yes. So you can see here the URL. You can add plus and another address, and then plus and another address, and just chain that together to make a route.
If you need any further assistance, feel free to ask. The task is done.
And just to top that off, let's say assistant. Get the weather forecast for the next 10 days in Rome and tell me what day you think would be good to have this date.
Why do I have a feeling this is a real use case, Abe?
What?
Why do I have a feeling this is a real use case?
Because he went on vacation recently with his girlfriend.
It's misunderstood me. No, don't open it in my browser.
Actually, this is a nice segue to how we want to handle demos and stuff like this, like moving forward. So I've been involved in stuff like this for like a couple decades. And I've seen kind of the pitfalls of how open source projects peter out, stuff like that. So our policy kind of like for development for anybody helping us out is this, like anything we demo, we show what it can do. And then we show 2 or 3 failure modes. Like, so you actually have a realistic assessment of what the software can do as it's going along if you're using it, you know. Also, everybody's going to go, hey, what about local language models and all that stuff? And yes, all that stuff we want to do and all that stuff's cool. But our development is probably going to be a little slower than a lot of other projects because what we want to do is get something that is fully functional and non-buggy and dead simple to use and reliable, and then add like one feature at a time.
Yeah.
So probably we're going to get this thing fully fleshed out to where it's got like a 99% success rate. And then we're going to go, okay, let's try and support local models. And then once the kinks are worked out of that, we'll move on to the next thing. So if anybody wants to help, that's the logic.
Okay, final send off here.
Sorry.
So here we can see it got around, it found the days for us. That's all cool. So here's I'm gonna if you don't mind, Killian and Mike, I'm gonna plug Human Devices here. Since we're considering this sort of a soft launch of the software, I've been spending the whole time, reconfiguring the code base. So no, but structured outputs look super interesting. We're totally gonna look into that. Anyway, so right now, this is all available for all of you guys to use if you'd like to. This is a public GitHub repository. It's all totally open source. You can go over to, it's called, oh yes, thank you, Ben. There's the invite to our Discord. It's pretty small right now, but we're loving to get some more people in there. So I'm going blind. All right. So right now, this is the GitHub. We're looking on packaging this into an executable, but for now, you need to clone the GitHub, run the installer, and then run main. So anyone who wants to come in here, this is fully open source. Fork it, do what you want. If anyone wants to make pull requests, I'll look into them, but it's just me working on this code wise, so I can't make any promises about how much I'll be able to keep up with that. And all of the code here is in source, and the stuff you probably care about is in config.py here. This is where you can configure system messages and models and file paths and the fun stuff like that. Anyone else who knows how to code can probably find their way around the rest of it. Yeah, that's pretty much our demo. Come into the Human Devices Discord and ask us if you want to know more. DM me or Shanyata if you have any other questions, but we'll hand off the stage now to somebody else.
Love it, Abe. Before you hand it off, can we get a link to the GitHub, please, in the chat?
Yes, you can.
Thanks, buddy.
And I would just add to the whole local, if anyone needs credits to use this for an accessibility use case, I will once again, as I do, and I will a million times throughout this roundtable, say, it's an open credits policy for anyone who is using this for accessibility, and with some exceptions for things that are just freaking cool. But specifically for accessibility, do not worry about the credits, especially if we're talking, Azure, Open and OpenAI as well. So, yeah, don't let that be an obstacle. So we're planning to integrate our own application, into this as the main hub running on a Raspberry Pi. To basically be that assistant running through your phone. Kind of breaking out of the confines of what a phone can do. Like, sending emails, booking Ubers, so on and so forth. That's kind of the dream, where you just have your assistant running with OpenPy, connected directly to our application, and kind of just being able to have that experience. And some cool demos coming soon, also in collaboration with the amazing team at Human Devices.
Yep. Great job. Oh my God, Abe and James, that was so cool. I think, and anybody who wants to demo an Emil doing a demo at the next one would be so great. This is awesome to see.
2 weeks. In 2 weeks.
2 weeks?
Yeah,
oh my
in
God,
2 weeks
launch?
is something. Well, demo in 2 weeks. A really cool demo in 2 weeks. Sorry?
Demo it on the house in September?
Yeah, that's great. I like deadlines. And I'll probably regret saying that, but I'm down. Let's do it.
Sweet. I love it. Okay, yeah, that was incredible. And that's, I mean, I cannot imagine a better way that's out there right now for folks trying to use Open Interpreter through a desktop. That's so incredible, and it's awesome that you guys are open sourcing that. I know too that the other demos that you've been posting about, where it's actually connecting to an Arduino device, and all of the incredible hardware stuff that you're thinking about alongside that, is all super exciting.
I got so excited we totally forgot to mention that. There's a whole hardware side to this too.
I didn't forget. I'm just trying not to be a shameless plug.
You can see it in the Human Devices Discord, but we have it programming Arduinos, and we're hoping to have some really cool demos coming with that soon, of it playing with servos and temperature sensors and stuff like that. So check out the Human Devices.
What we really want is people with actual accessibility needs, and not a lot of technical knowledge. They don't have to be coders, but enough technical knowledge to hack on this a little bit to help us out. Like the main, there's the stuff that Emil's trying to do, but outside of what Emil's trying to do, the main thing we really want to work on is hands-free computer use, transcription, stuff like that, like people with physical disabilities, simply because there's been 3 or 4 people on another Discord I'm on that I just mentioned this, and they do there's some accessibility gaming controllers and stuff on there, and people just like the options that are out there are kind of meh. And if this flops and we never sell any of our little AI dev kits, and nothing comes of it. Like, at least we've got like a nice open source like assistant for people, you know, and our time won't have been wasted.
It will never
So
be.
please DM me if you fill those criteria.
It's yeah, this feels very special to come out of this. So the fact that nobody even really knows, you know, when language models came out, what the big use case was going to be. But you are, and everybody who's on this roundtable now, I feel like we're starting to be the people who can see the future before it happens and know that accessibility is maybe the first and maybe the most important thing that language models are going to be. Real world, really cool stuff, immediately useful. Thank you so much, James and Abe, for what you've built and what you're building. So I'm gonna also introduce, first of all, so this behind me too, this is the Open Interpreter core team along with Mike here. We got Ben and Kai and Ty and Victor, who have all been contributing to the open source Open Interpreter project. And there's a part of that too, the O1 as a project that just wraps Open Interpreter in a voice interface. So I kind of want to take it in that little direction too, and talk about some of the stuff that we've been working on there. This goes back a little bit too to Yikes, what you were talking about, where if only there was a little device that you could kind of take away from the computer and have wherever you are, and just a great open source voice assistant that beamed back into that, and maybe beamed back into this OpenPy app too. But just something great that worked on ideally on Android and iOS that could beam your voice back to your assistant and beam its voice back to you. So this began by like shortly after the O1 project happened. We had like the classic O1 server, which was just beaming WebSocket over WebSocket bytes of audio to an ESP32 device. It was like, okay, well this is awesome, but everybody has a phone, and to see this thing running on a phone would be, you know, thinking about accessibility. You got to actually get a device if you're going to try the O1 classic stuff, but you already got a phone. So if we can ship software that puts all this into your hands, everybody here can be playing with this, building with the accessibility tech, and advancing the frontier. So Kai just like literally, like you like PR'd into the repo in the first few days with an app and with the beginnings of the app. And Ty and Kai together built the first version of the React Native version of the O1. And so this is just how can we get something that has the push to talk or VAD, just a voice interface, into a computer controlling artificial intelligence. There is going to be a major release coming out soon with a new version of the app that uses LiveKit. It is much nicer. And it uses, by using LiveKit, it means that you get SDKs into this voice assistant technology that's in React, that's in React Native. It's for Android, it's for web. They got SDKs in Python and a bunch of languages, and I sort of got in like Ruby. So for people that are building technology that connects to an assistant that controls a computer, there's a bunch of options now to start to get into the ecosystem. Sorry, say again?
Flutter?
Flutter? I don't know. Does LiveKit have a Flutter SDK? Probably. They're pretty awesome. So I think we want to show you where we're at with that. And again, this too is going to be fully open source. Probably next week we'll have this out in the main O1 repo, which is going to be the Android O1 app. So without further ado, I think let's take a look. So there's two ways that we've been playing with this thing working. One of them is to try to connect it to cloud Linux machines, and that was with the Agents API that I showed at the last house party, so that for anybody who doesn't have it connected to a computer, they can still use it. What we're going to show you, though, is, I think, even cooler. It's just scanning a QR code on your computer that's running the O1 and connecting the voice assistant to that. So the setup here is literally you download the app, you run the O1, and maybe this is something too that is a part of the desktop app that you're building, that we're building, and you are able to connect your computer to your phone and talk to it and have the classic O1 experience, but it's through an Android phone. should we give this a try? And same rules. We're all tinkerers here, and this this might not work, but better to show steam and smoke and code.
So I won't believe it unless it breaks once. I think that's a good rule to have.
Okay, so by the way, this is still the same 01 kind of rules we had before, which is there is the ability to expose this on your local network. That's the default, and then you're connected to the same Wi-Fi on your phone. You can also expose it with Ngrok over the internet, so you can be anywhere in the world controlling your phone. So this idea too, yikes, of what you were thinking, where like I just want a little thing that's farther away from my phone. Maybe it has restricted permissions from the beefier desktop assistant, but it can still do stuff. I think we're close to realizing that here. So this is the O1 app. You scan that QR code to get in. Yeah.
Hey, can you tell me your name?
Of course, my name is 01, your executive assistant. How can I assist you today?
So this is running on the computer. And this by running Open Interpreter, by the way, this can be connected to any OpenAI compatible endpoint. So if you want to be running like CodeStroll or Ollama or something to be talking to it, totally on the table, just as easy as changing the model in Open Interpreter.
Did you guys hear that latency? You see how fast that was?
That was
We've done
fucking insane.
A lot of work to get that the time to first audio byte really, really fast. So awesome work done here from Kai and
Yep.
Julian to make that.
Should we try open Slack or something, or get a?
Yeah, we can try that. Hey, can you open Slack for me?
Opening Slack now.
Maybe on. What's its method of opening Slack? You could try the Spotlight one, yeah.
You can use the Spotlight Command K and just search for Slack and then open that.
I should have Command K open Spotlight.
Command space.
Yeah, Command space.
You got it.
You got this.
Abe, you've done the best thing ever. You've made the Mac look horrible now. For the first time.
It's an ugly thing to be connecting to. Like, that is interesting too. The computer API now running AppleScript. Something that would be cool to connect with everybody here about too would be, there's no reason why we can't have a cross-platform computer API. Like the idea of connecting to Gmail for it, if it's something that somebody's connected to Gmail, like it'd be great if there's just a universal way of connecting to mail and to things like that.
Once you do deploy an app in the Google Cloud Console, it's pretty easy to get other people to authenticate it, to give it permissions with the OAuth workflow. They don't have to go through all the complicated process to get the credential. They can just authenticate it for their account. It gets a lot easier. But the computer API is awesome. Good work, guys. That's even the stuff that even just with browser.search alone, that's a really awesome feature add.
Do you think we should try a Discord or restart, or what do you think is going on?
It's nice wanting to run code for some reason.
See, it has to fail once. It's working.
Ben, is yours? Anybody ever look on yours? No way. You're not going to. No. Okay, get this. So what happens if you can run this thing on Android? There are a lot of Android devices out there. One of them is regular sized phones. One of them, this is a $40 tiny, is it mini phone, pocket something? Of Android devices out there. One of them is regular sized phones. One of them.
Can you hear me?
Are you talking to the AI or us?
Oh, to the AI.
Say hi to Emil.
This thing is $40. It's got a screen and haptic feedback. Like what?
Let's send a Discord message to Emil.
Oh, what is it? What is it gonna do?
Discord bot token.
Nah, just use AppleScript.
Can AppleScript control Discord, I wonder?
AppleScript to simulate keyboard inputs to send the message. Here's a brief plan of what we will do using AppleScript. Activate Discord.
It's very verbose.
I trust your plan. Just go.
You got this.
I can try and use any keyboard to talk to it.
I love this. Yeah. So this by the way, this open source Android app that we're gonna have is not only the voice interface but also the chat interface. Beautifully built by Kai. It was.
I trust your plan. Just go ahead and do it. Run the code and just let me know the output.
Just tell it that to not embarrass you and that you're at a demo. I promise
like
you it works.
Version of demos.
Okay, it opened Discord.
Nice. You could try it. I think. See, this is where Abe, what you're building with the knowledge bases is really, really interesting because you can imagine like if you want to tell it that Command K is something that actually lets you like select a contact in Discord and then you're in the thing.
You know, I've sent so many random messages to so many random people saying, "Hi, this is an automated message," while trying to get it to work with WhatsApp. And we're like, "What?" Like,
you could just text my phone number. Just be like, text.
Let's text Killian using iMessage. You can check for his number in the contacts app. Use AppleScript. Don't talk. Just do it.
the fact that it didn't recognize my name, man, I don't know. It's like that's a deal breaker for me.
Yeah, you know what's interesting? So at the last AI Tinkers that we had in Seattle, there was somebody, or no, this was the hackathon at Shivan, who was somebody who was also a contributor to the O1, demoed a transcript, which was actually also looking at your contacts. So it was trying to find things that were close in your contacts to what
Like
you're
vector
saying.
similar. Ooh.
Yeah, exactly. Well, it would be a language model. It would be like, so this doesn't appear to be like correctly got. Now let's vector search over your contacts and find the real person. So he tested it with his name, Shivan, which has never been able to get working on transcripts, and it worked beautifully. Right now, this is using LiveKit, which uses DeepGram. There's a version 2 of the O1 that uses the just faster whisper, and that might be hackable enough to get doing that. Does it work on your iPhone?
Yeah, let's try.
You know how it is.
Phoenix in love.
Yeah.
Like after we saw Two Dogs' demos, there's no excuse for anything to not work on the iPhone. Just saying. Like you guys have zero excuse. you Apple users.
Well, it can't be all on Apple. I mean, really, this is to like, you know, as long as an interpreter can run. Yeah, here we go. Okay, so is this?
All right, let's text it this time.
Okay, so you've connected with your QR code to the app. And you're using the chat. What are you asking it?
To text you.
I'm okay too with just giving it my number. Like,
well, it should be able to. Again, it was working 20 minutes ago.
Yeah. Ooh. Okay, so what's that? So it opened up contacts.
Script segment that tries sending the message using AppleScript. The problem is related to how the recipient, EA, Killian's number, is specified in the message. You'll first ensure that the phone number extracted is correct and appropriately input for the messaging service. Test message sending.
This is worse than hearing an Arab speak English, man.
No, just go ahead, run the AppleScript again. The number is 206-890-026.
No.
La la la.
Appropriate, Ali.
The execution persists the message sending via AppleScript. This specifically relates
It would be nice too.
in scripting.
Oh, yeah, it did send it. Oh my god, it did send it. I love it. It doesn't even know. See, this is what would be nice too about what you've built too, Abe, where it only voices the last thing, so that if it just keeps going and telling you its plan and things, that's not really something you need to voice. It also takes a long time.
It does. That's something. The first thing we noticed when we implemented voice is that we need to be able to interrupt it, because we would ask it something and it would have a long response, and it's just like, well, I guess we got to sit here for 35 minutes while it reads the whole thing. Especially when we were initially using batch processing with Whisper before we were streaming Whisper, because once it's started, it's queued up the entire thing, and you just got to sit there and wait. Even if you close
it would
the program,
just read 5 minutes of Python script out loud, like
trying to pronounce it phonetically.
Which is a good way to get to bed, you know?
Yeah, you know, and an interesting thing too that we could probably get into is
Python script ASMR.
Yeah.
If anybody has experience too in LiveKit, there's ways of wrapping up the speech part of it to where we actually could get like, you know, first of all, this just as an engine to try to transmit stuff to phones, where this thing is, as a React Native app, going to work on iPhone, going to work on Android. It's getting the text back and forth. What we can do too is we can have it so that some stuff is spoken and some stuff isn't. And even too, the idea of like presenting information in a way that's a little more beautiful on the thing, where it's like, you know, maybe sending some HTML that gets rendered in the app. This is totally on the table. And this is just a great way to, like, for everybody who's building open source voice assistants, connect using the best WebRTC platform out there, and have something that can pipe into a language model, in this case, Open Interpreter. So congrats.
We need to talk, Killian.
Oh, what's that?
We need to talk, man. Like, we're just about to do this. I think there's an interesting bit of collaboration that we can do in this particular part.
That'd be great. Yeah, I think really soon too, the idea of just like running one of these tiny Android phones in like kiosk mode on that app, like how close are we to like the dream of these kinds of wearables, of the Star Trek communicator with this thing, which is barely a few inches across, and it was $40. It was $20 a few months ago. It has a screen. It has a great microphone, a great speaker. This could be in a lot of people's hands, and Android phones already are. They're incredibly cheap portable computers. Just let this thing connect to language models, and you will put AI.
Is that the friend? Yeah.
Hey,
that is the friend. That's running a sentence.
It is now called the OMI, and it also, that same repo now includes the integration with OpenGlass, which is an alternative to Brilliant. So like you can get a friend and the glasses, and I know the friend is like $20, or you can build it yourself, or you can build the glasses that are like bulky and a little bit janky, but they're super cheap, which is the part I like. And you can obviously just build them yourself if you want.
And if anyone wants some cash, there are some cool bounties on some really cool features. On that repo.
With I'm sure if you can hear me. With the friend,
that's awesome.
I've got the dev version. It's got you can add webhooks. So I was messing around with some code using Retool to pick up the real-time talking into the friend. So as it was transcribing, it was feeding it through to my webhook, which I could then feed into a GPT or an LLM or whatever. So that would be quite cool to do with Open Interpreter, because this thing will last like 2 days or something. And they've got the new version that comes out. They're sending me the consumer version, which is a bit more shiny. And the new version's got a vibrating thing and a speaker, so it can make noises and you can tap it. But I'm kind of playing with the concept on this of trying to pick up the tap, you know, like the sort of rough noise of the mic, and see if I can. Do it so that, because I really want to do like a magnet, so I can have it there and then just go and tap it twice.
What's so cool about that, you can make the case. Then you have so much more flexibility with the case. Then you don't need to have. It could feel so much more like just like pop.
Exactly.
And it's on what the cool thing about the friend is it's really on one sensor. And by the way, since we're talking about voice, you know, we actually made some awesome breakthroughs in the past 2 days. with transcription and diarization with screenshots. So
Nice.
essentially, being able to, we're using WhisperX, which kind of PyAnnotate, which supports kind of diarization, alongside screenshots, kind of taken, every second or so, every 2 seconds, running it through Moondream, and running it through WhisperX locally, and essentially vectorizing that with timestamps. And with DigiSilk, we're working on getting an ESP32 cam. So essentially, what can then be done is you can just ask a question about anything that happened throughout your day, throughout your work session, and it would recognize what you were saying, when you were saying it. You can ask it questions about what you were doing for how long. It's going to be one of the core parts of our app. And the cool thing about it is it's running fully local models. Like it's running Moondream for the images and WhisperX for the transcription. On device.
Have a link to that repo, because I was basically just building that, but back when the only thing for it was Whisper CPP, and have been continuing to try and make that happen. But yes, I mean, like
I can send it to you, and it's pretty good. Again, if it runs on a Raspberry Pi, which is kind of the hub that we're trying to get it on, because it's just sub $100 hardware that you can plug in.
You should talk to the sales
and
guys as well.
maybe you guys can steal the idea, but in addition to that, just feed it into the context window, like your journal CTL or whatever, of all of the events that have happened on your computer, so it can keep track of what you are doing. And then you can also add that with the pictures, and then you can also chat. And then what my third addition to that is also be able to vectorize my Obsidian knowledge base and pull relevant notes and show them to me while I'm talking about something I was recently doing. So between all of that, it basically just knows everything about what I'm doing and what I'm interested in.
So it's not real-time transcription, right? That's the only thing. It's batch transcription. But that'll be awesome. Like, because what we figured out, by the way, in terms of, and this is a topic on accessibility in a way, what we figured out is that unless the system that we're building, in this case, kind of the Ohana PAL ecosystem that we're trying to build, which is supposed to be a kind of accessibility OS using Open Interpreter, OpenPy, kind of putting together everything that we're trying to support and see, is that contextual understanding is very important. Environmental understanding is very important. Like if I need help with something, I need to know what's in front of me, right? We're working with an ESP32 cam kind of mounted on, a sub $10 ESP32 cam, and we're working with DigiSilk to kind of get that together, running, taking pictures. So when I want help with something, it has that context. Like what page am I on? Maybe through a Chrome extension, screenshots, what's in front of me. What was I doing before? What was I doing after? In terms of caregivers, like parents, teachers, and when you're talking about like that and that hoping for more independence, there's a lot of peace of mind that goes into a parent being able to know exactly what happened before, after, and during. Well, not after. I don't think after works. That's future. But my point being, that context, especially when you're talking about therapy, when you're talking about parents, when you're talking about like me being more comfortable in allowing, my family member or, brother, son, fill in the blanks, to go out and do things, having that contextual understanding and being able to prompt based on that. We realized that was the biggest missing thing. And, you've had Clip, the last open source thing that GPT did, being able with semantic search. So there's a lot of things that we're doing in that area, and then potentially connecting it. Well, not potentially. We're going to be connecting to the Open Pi, and then just having your sensitive information blocked off from the internet. So like, your images, your screenshots, your everything aren't being sent to some server somewhere. That's the idea. That's a dream, at least.
I think this is pretty similar to the thing that it has been the killer app since I can think of it. But the high level design ideas that I think maybe I don't know if you considered them yet or not. Like you mentioned, context is king. So it needs to be extremely apparent what is in the context window, what is not in the context window, and it needs to be trivial for me to change that. So I don't know if you guys have worked with something like Cursor Composer, or Bloop is another great example that I like, where you can see all of the documents that it's pulled, all the chunks that it's working with, and just like show hide those chunks. So each time that I'm speaking with it, it's going to be with a different context that I can easily manage. Which would be particularly helpful if you are trying to do something like watch the system logs or pull from a knowledge base, something like that. And then the other thing is, I think this is maybe like not as important, but just like a pet peeve of mine, where you have the opportunity with assistants like that, when they're passively collecting data, to make them proactive rather than reactive.
So if 100%.
Yeah, so something worth thinking about.
It's actually the most important thing, by the way, because with
I just hate chatbots. So
because with the neurodivergent, like, and I'm included in this demographic, by the way, with ADHD, prevention is like once the shit hits the fan, that's when no AI is gonna help. Really, honestly, like that's just kind of like when it's just damage control. But to be in a position where you can proactively, do things because you're recognizing certain patterns, and that's kind of why we went towards the semantic search, using clip, and trying to see like how can we make this as, as understood. But like, let's have a chat, man. Would love to, add you on Discord and have a chat and see. Like we're just figuring this out, and the cool thing about things like Cursor, and a shit ton of credits as well, is that we went from concept to something that actually works. This morning we actually got the first, like, we had a conversation on Google Meet, and it completely gave us a full understanding of what was happening within 2 weeks, right? Because it's like so much faster to kind of put things together, fix things, break things. Like Abe yesterday was saying, hey man, Google is going to take, forever. Like we took it off the table because, while we're kind of collaborating on this demo, and, having it work today, having as much help as possible from everyone and anyone in this community. Like I can count maybe 5, 6, 7 people in this chat that we've directly worked with in one way, shape, or form, to ask them questions, and most of which we're collaborating with in one way, shape, or form. Without that, we wouldn't be able to even have moved to where we were. Like the dream for Ohana Pal, something like 4 months ago, was, hey, we need $1 million in funding to get to where we are today in terms of a prototype, versus using the open source community, working with the open source community, and just people pointing things out that we would never have thought of ourselves, and kind of just supporting that. So yeah, I would love to have a chat with Killian and, yikes. Killian, because we want to put this into our app, and our devs will be very happy, especially Abrar. And yikes, because the semantic search aspect, we're really trying to get that, get that right. Because I think once you have that, you have a very, very powerful tool. And I'll just say this one last thing. I know I'm going on for a lot, but the cool thing about what I'm finding about accessibility is that every single thing that we're doing with accessibility has dual use for everyone, right? Like, even with this experiment with the semantic search and transcription and diarization, I'm using this today to kind of have a good idea of my conversations. Everything from text, like everything's applicable to other industries. So I think once you get something working for accessibility for the most challenging demographic, then you pretty much can apply those same lessons to kind of mainstream applications. So, I would pitch that as a very good reason to kind of work on technology for accessibility, because it ends up kind of benefiting everyone. Anyway, I will kind of stop there because I can go on for ages.
It's interesting too. There was a really cool guy who worked with us on the O1, Finn Baker, who was talking about the fact that seeing what was happening with computer controlling agents and seeing, like, projecting this out into the future too. You project your own life out into the future and you realize that all of us are going to need help. We're all getting older, and there will come a time when accessibility, it meant something for other people, but even at the level that that we're trying to provide it at the lowest level, it's going to mean something to us. So just as a matter of holding on to yourself as you get older. I mean, I've had folks in my family too who getting older is very hard cognitively, like history of dementia and things, and it feels like when we're all here building second brains, like it might be all for like productivity, like obsidian hacking kind of things, but probably the most meaningful thing we're going to leave on this planet from all this is going to be helping people, just restoring functionality, and those people are going to be us because we're human and we get older.
My grandfather's 90. Luckily, no dementia, but being 90 is still being 90. And my use case, I think when I go to Lebanon in September, if we still have a country, would be to actually put this on his tablet that he uses, and to kind of just like get like what better test case, than a 90-year-old who, has lived through 2 world wars or 1 world war. I don't know.
Yeah.
My math is off. Actually trying this out. I think that's really, the usability and validation that we should all strive for, which is like, can an 80-year-old, 90-year-old, can someone who's neurodivergent, who might not understand abstract concepts, actually use whatever software we're building? It doesn't matter if it's specifically targeted for those problems or, or those challenges, or for just in general. Like, we wouldn't need to exist as Ohana if all of these tech companies had that accessibility first approach. So with AI, I think we can kind of change that. And working with you guys, Killian, Mike, Shinyata, Two Dogs, DigiSilk. So many people I'm forgetting, names and stuff, but like, has been an absolute pleasure. And any new ideas and anything, any new concepts, come on, guys, let's do it. Like 3 months ago, we're talking in the abstract about this use case. 3 months later, we have some demos doing some crazy ass shit. On all levels. So, like, it is possible. And yeah, I just want to add one thing. I forgot who it was, Mike, on the last accessibility call, the roundtable, who said, we're building our imaginary friend, right? More than your kind of assistant or your companion or whatever. That is like, your imaginary friend is kind of a reflection of how you look at the world and how you want to communicate. And that concept of having that imaginary friend kind of manifested physically into a system, who doesn't want that?
Yep. Okay, well, that feels like honestly a good place to close it out, except for if anybody who hasn't spoken yet too has anything that they're building or that they think about what other folks in this community are building, it'd be great to hear from you. I know Two Dogs has been doing just incredible stuff, and I don't know, Two Dogs, if you have anything that you've been cooking on, but
I will actually just put out a. Well,
Go ahead.
Two Dogs go. He's got something more substantial, probably. But then I kept talking, so I'm gonna go now. There's some folks that are working on any-to-any multimodal models, training them in like a distributed system like BitTensor, and they were looking for someone who is interested in distributed training and any-to-any multimodal, ideally that's like sort of in the space of research with regards to image bind and like derivatives of that or iterating on that sort of concept. So if anybody is looking for a gig, they were looking for someone else on the team. So if you are interested in that, then hit me up.
Huge. Love that.
And actually, sorry, I just want to jump in quickly.
You don't have to.
Ashish shared the idea of a productivity roundtable, which I think would be awesome. So I'll book one of those.
I would totally go to that. Yep.
Yeah. Try to automate some things.
I'd be there.
Love it. So yeah, keep tuned. I'll tag event updates so we can all get notified for that.
We're actually working on knowledge bases for this thing for different productivity apps. We've had really good luck with ClickUp. We can probably demo some stuff there. I'd love for different people to try it. But yeah, I'd be down with that definitely.
Yeah, I've seen that ClickUp demo was amazing. This is OpenPy, James and Abe putting in just like literally all the ClickUp documentation and then putting your environment variables for ClickUp into the thing, and then just being
that one rarely breaks because their API is so good and clear and well documented.
Yeah. Yeah, as opposed to Google's is a nightmare.
Yeah, it's a nightmare. I was amazed that I'm sure we're going to break it badly 3 or 4 more times before it's stable. But I was just amazed we could actually get it to work. I was thrilled.
Totally.
Abe wanted me to say goodbye. He had to run. So he apologizes.
Yeah, I don't know, T-Dog.
I really appreciate it. Yeah, no, I'm really excited. So thanks to the gang, I'm playing with some pretty fun stuff. And I'd say in terms of accessibility, where we're at is trying to bring, thanks to Emil's awesomeness with the credits and kind of giving me some juice to work with and really play with some more high-end frontier models that I'm getting ready to use. It's like basically the crossover from agriculture to accessibility, and kind of like Homie said, it's like, at the core, when these things just, when you get the torso down or the octopi or the arm holding whatever, it's just like this all becomes the bones, and then you can wrap the skin, and from there you can wear different clothing, you could say, and in a way you can almost put these nervous systems of 196 like context variables of a persona in that can just be changed at once type stuff. And so looking at this sort of like the agent of the liquid persona becomes the tool that, say, the environmental awareness calls on at this point has been somewhat of the focus. And so I guess I'm more just have like maybe some architecture ideas to share. And I don't want to think that several people in here aren't, miles ahead of this. And at the same time, I just got into this a year ago. So it's like, if I were to say like, well, I've now, thanks to your guys' inspiration, and especially Homies, like that picture with the robot versus the car versus the brain, and just really focusing on that sort of breakdown of how open interpreters, more than just these models and more than just a program. I mean, it's like basically I've been focusing on getting that idea to run as light as possible on pies. And so I kind of like stumbled into, through the magic of the if while loop dimension, the use of just like I still can't reverse engineer. I know that I have access to the code. This isn't my goal, but it's like I still can't make sense of what you did whenever night you stumbled into making, and not even stumbled in, but I mean, whatever happened there, it's like it blows my mind. And the closest I've come now is I've basically just added, say, a tool. It's not like core root like what you're doing, but it's like just gave, say, a tool to, execute commands to a very lightweight Python script. So I've been trying to start playing with that, and now theorizing like this idea of slimming that down. And it's like, I feel like as I go on this path, I'm going to start coming into why there's all these other folders in the GitHub and all these other packages. And it's just like, I don't think that like anything different has been done, but it's like trying to make just the most lightweight agent that can work with just text. And it's like outside of web search, I'm realizing there's a way to almost like, I mean, it's easy to say like, yes, all text is context and all code is written with text. And so this is all text, but it's like with GPT-4o mini out there, let's say in this octopi holding another octopi, or at the end of the tentacle, or the lighter weight models, I'm just finding that like, yeah, we can do majorly intricate stuff. And again, this may be old news, but like just structured outputs with just text though. And so having a tool that without running web search or needing access to packages can just deliver you, say, a fully single file website with a liquid user interface at that moment for whatever context is necessary. that can just open with a URL scheme on whatever device. And then that lightweight Python, say, agent that's running on that just maybe 126 lines of code or something, which maybe is a lot. I'm not sure how that works, but it's like now it's accessing the URL and it's opening the web browser and it's doing just a lot of the lightweight things locally on what I think I'm going to be able to get on a 0. I'll know in the next week. And then I hope to say get that 0 potentially airborne. And then once moving airborne now from like the same stuff I'm doing with the shortcuts of being able to schedule and find and research and do and make a document or do these sort of like, write a Python script and execute it in Python, let's say, or these apps, starting to cross over the idea of like this environmental awareness to a lot of the stuff I've been thinking of in farming in terms of having drones or having like the vision models do kind of like vision function calling of like, natural resource assessment, combining with ArcGIS mapping layers, getting access to historical data and bringing all that together. Well, same thing now. And it's like, and I'll zip it here, but starting to see the digital leash aspects of the flipper to a drone that potentially could ride like a foot or two above a wheelchair in the wild, giving total 360 environmental awareness, working with potentially any other prototype hardware, the phone, the glasses, bringing all that down into just like using the photogrammetry style of these mapping apps to just say perform multiple layers of analysis of the same image in the most lightweight single focus models as possible. So I'll stop ranting, but that's where it's all swirling right now and trying to bring that into the accessibility space.
Yeah. Yeah.
By the way, like one of the best things I got over the past 2 weeks is like, I don't know, 6 hours, I don't know how many hours, 2 dogs, of just talking. And like, it got to a point where we're like, okay, like what are we actually going to do? Because, the capabilities are so great out there of things that already work and trying to kind of organize everything. And maybe that's something that Mike, we talked about at some point, which is trying to kind of, and Killian, like on our group, we were talking specifically about like how can we organize what we want to get done so we can, pool resources around, a common objective. Because it's awesome doing all these different things with all these different people. But I think we're best united when it comes to like really trying to solve a problem that really hasn't been solved. Like right now, the alternative is a human being, a caregiver, just being there at all times. So, it takes a village. So figuring that out, maybe Mike, Killian can talk about how we can, maybe even distribute the credits alongside certain goals and objectives and, get everyone on the same page, sharing mistakes, fuck ups, and the occasional success. That'll be awesome.
Yeah, I don't know, Mike, if you have any thoughts. I mean, that goes too a little bit too into the organization and logistical side, and obviously there's things that we can do as the Discord here, where we can try to organize people around this and maybe have I don't know, I mean, maybe there's a demand for a bounty program, kind of like how Friend has one. That could be worth looking into, and then we could kind of have tasks that we're all tackling together and can kind of distribute the credits that you so generously have offered up to for accessibility uses. I think if there's any ideas on that, we should open up into that. There's one thing I have to mention. 9 months ago, Tag Nike here, Nike-chan, made a fully voice interface into Open Interpreter, like a month after it came out. It was based on Chat VLM, I think is what it was called. That and I remember talking to it, and just it was like this is way ahead of where anybody is at. Like built a server for Open Interpreter, connected it to Chat VLM. So this was an AI VTuber that had full natural language responses, displayed the code beautifully to the side. You can see this. Literally this video too, we left PC control up to AI Girl Open Interpreter. I think Nike, I don't know if you want to add anything to that, but like you literally pointed it at Open Interpreter's code base and made like an error in the code base and then ran it, and it was self-correcting. And this was with the voice agent almost a year ago. Like it doesn't feel like accessibility, but the AI like VTuber community and especially Nike has been at the front of like a really incredible computer controlling voice assistants. So I don't know Nike if you have anything that you want to add about that, but that is open source. And again, it just because it's so beautiful, it doesn't appear like accessibility, but actually it genuinely moved the dial forward into what I at least thought was possible. It was like the most futuristic thing I'd used. I know Nike too even had it on a YouTube live that people could talk to, which was hilarious. It just like literally like executed code on Nike's computer. Nike, do you have that repo? I can't find it. The one that was the chat VLM. I don't know if anybody has it or can paste it in, but just have to give credit where credit is due that I'm pretty sure Nike was first. I don't know if anybody else wants to start on something or share something that they've built. But we do these pretty regularly now. I mean, monthly accessibility roundtable feels right, or do we do them less often? Mike, do we have one on the calendar for the future?
Nope, we are only booked in this one. Next is the house party September 5th, and I like the idea of the productivity roundtable, but we'll definitely get another one of these booked in.
That's really cool.
An accessibility hackathon, man. Like, badly.
Yes. Yeah, we need to do an accessibility hackathon.
You know, like I think the craziness that will come out of that would be insane. I don't know who shared the other day on the accessibility channel, like the virtual nose that uses these sensors. Like, there's so many things that you can do that I think just blow like brains away. So yeah, hackathon accessibility. You know me, Killian. I'll just keep bothering you until you do
it. Yeah, let's do it really soon. I think too that there's going to be some good timing here because a lot of the kind of sister projects here that are building with computer controlling AI, I think we're all about to have launches pretty well. So like, you know, this stuff, the voice assistant that is React Native, that's live kits based, that's going to be fun to build on. That's using too our OpenAI compatible endpoint now, which also the Agents API uses. Like there's a bunch of things that's going to come out of Open Interpreter that's going to be really fun to play with. Open Interpreter in a Docker container with a very nice OpenAI compatible endpoint. Anything you've built with OpenAI language models can now use the computer control stuff. There's going to be the live kit and all their SDKs across Flutter and a bunch of different languages. I assume Flutter, but I know they have Python and Java and React Native and React and all that. That has chat too and voice. I know the OpenPy, also human devices, what they've been building of having a desktop app for Open Interpreter that is working on Windows and Linux and has knowledge bases and has configurable environment variables, which is brilliant. And especially the knowledge base stuff. And Ohana too, anything that you guys are building that could be a part of that hackathon. I don't know, 2Dogs if you want to hop in and have some shortcuts around Nike with some chat VLM stuff. We all have some open source tech that would make for the most incredible hackathon.
I would love to see wheelchair drones at the hackathon.
Yes. Wheelchair drones is like, I've never heard of that. That feels like the future.
That'd be cool.
Okay, but I think we'll all get together at the house party next. Hopefully, then we can start to materialize some plans for a hybrid hackathon. I know we want to do something in person at some point too. I know James too. You talked about wanting to do something.
Yeah. I want to do a hardware hackathon one of these days.
I remember you saying that you could sponsor the hardware, James. Remember?
Yes. Actually, this bounty thing is kind of a cool idea. I may put up some bounties for some of our knowledge bases. Speaking of hardware, Emil, your dev kit case will ship tomorrow.
Yes. I'm about to get some awesomely printed. James, you're awesome, man.
No problem at all.
Okay, with that. I feel I would love to see you all at the house party, and then let's get something on the books too for a productivity roundtable. That seems really fun, and we'll definitely have another accessibility one too.
Yep.
Good luck all on the launches, and a lot of love to the open interpreter and friends and family that came. See y'all.
Again, free credits, guys.
Free credits. Yes, the accessibility credits. Get in touch. See you, Nike. It's good to see you, Zoheb, too. That's awesome that Yikes.
Likewise.
Later, y'all. See ya, Emil.
See
Bye,
everyone.
Mike.
Bye.
Peace out.